everybody. Welcome back to the Science Dispatch Podcast. My name is Cameron English. Very excited to be your host, as always, joined by Dr. Chuck Dinnerstein, Director of Medicine at the American Council on Science and Health. Chuck, what is up?
I just came back from vacation, which was very insightful because I didn't think that vacation meant the same thing when you were semi-retired, but it's even better. So. That was very good.
Okay. What's the difference? Is there any difference, or is it just your perception?
The thing with vacation is it has to be different than work. And you would think that if you were retired and doing nothing, so I go to a museum instead of going to the Home Depot. But as it turns out, vacation is a lot of fun. I could do that again. But I think also I'm going to have to wait a while and get back into this other groove so that I enjoy it as much the next time around. Does that make sense?
Very good. Very good. Well, we'll have to speak offline about how to enhance your vacation plans. But while we're here...
I'm not in charge of my vacation plans. Those are made for me.
Fair enough.
I have people. Call my wife.
I'm not retired, nor am I on vacation, and I know exactly what you said before you said it. So, okay. Anyways, the purpose of this podcast is science. We have an article you wrote on June 18th. It's called Osteoarthritis as an Evolutionary Legacy. This was insanely popular on our site, Chuck. So there is a lot more interest in what seems like a very niche medical topic than I assumed. So here's your summary, and then break down the specifics for us. So you write, we've long blamed osteoarthritis on wear and tear, the price of a life well lived. But could the cause be a more ancient culprit, a misfired developmental program that once built our skeletons and now betrays us in old age? What if joint failure isn't just mechanical decay, but a biological relapse? All right. Intriguing question, Dr. Dinnerstein. What's going on here?
Okay, so the reason I was attracted to this is because it was contrary to everything that I was taught in medical school. And what I've learned is that most of the things that they taught me in medical school were lies. So it's been refreshing to see this. So, osteoarthritis is a real problem. It probably was popular because there's a lot of people that have some degree of aches and pains and joint pains and osteoarthritis. They estimate that there's something like 7% of the world's population has it. When you look at people over 40, it's 1 out of 4. So this is not an uncommon problem. And the biomechanical theory is that these particular joints, these are synovial joints. So a synovial joint are joints that move in multiple directions, like our knee and our hip. And a synovial joint has a very tough outer surface. It has cartilage to have a smooth bearing surface, and a synovium, hence the term synovial cartilage, which provides a lubricant for the joint so that it acts in a smooth manner. And the thinking has always been that these synovial joints, because we walk around and we were originally designed to be walking on all fours and not standing up straight, there's additional strain and stress upon them. And with wear and tear over the years, they break down and they cause this osteoarthritis. The cartilage disappears. There's more and more bone formation. You have what's described as bone-on-bone problems, and it causes pain. And it's opened up an entire industry of knee and hip replacements. So that's been the long-standing theory about it. Now, there's some other things that are interesting about our physiology. A lot of when we talk about physiology, especially on the website and in articles, we're talking about biochemistry and biochemical markers. But our body is also affected by physics, especially our joints. And there is a hormone called transforming growth factor, which protects the joint and is activated by the fact that we put a load on the joint. Walking around is protective of our joint surfaces. And we know that because when we put people on forced rest and we're no longer putting weight on our joints, these particular growth factors are no longer being made, and the body takes that as a signal that there's a problem and starts to create new bone. And it's that new bone that can give you a problem with osteoarthritis. Now, obviously, people are not immobile. That's not what happens, but it's a mismatch in the release of this hormone. And there's actually an evolutionary name for it, and God save me if I don't get it right, is antagonistic pleiotropy, which is basically that what works well in one environment doesn't work well in another. So, classic example, the genetic changes that result in sickle cell anemia are protective against malaria. So, where that mutation developed in malaria-ridden areas, that was adaptive. When malaria is no longer present, then the incidence of sickle cell anemia becomes more clear. In the same way with this, with osteoarthritis, this transforming growth factor, which protects the joint, becomes increasingly muted as we age. And as a result, bone formation is more likely to occur. And because there's less of it around as we age, there's going to be individual variations in how we respond to it. People that have very sensitive receptors are not going to have osteoarthritis. People with less sensitive receptors, when they see a drop in that number, are going to start creating new bone where there used to be cartilage, and are going to have more problems. And that's a completely different way of thinking about the disease.
So quoting from this study that you're summarizing, they write, comprehending osteoarthritis within this evolutionary and biological frame provides a solid alternative to the theory of, quote, wear and tear, offering insight into further understanding, prevention, and disease management. Okay, so you said at the top, and I've heard this from multiple doctors. I don't know to what extent it's true, but, such and such percentage of what I learned in medical school is false. And I've had to relearn that. Okay, so there's some significant truth to that. This seems like a good example. How do you think a finding like this should or will influence caring for patients struggling with this condition?
Well, I think that people that are already symptomatic are stuck with what we already have available, which is symptomatic relief, ranging from physical therapy, pain management, effective pain management, or at this point, joint replacement. And, our joint replacement stuff has come leagues and leagues since it started 60 years ago. But, I hate to say it as a surgeon, but it's certainly the most aggressive way of dealing with the problem. And it's not without its own difficulties, though. It can make a huge difference for people. Where I think it will make a lasting change further down the line is now that we recognize that there may be a biophysiology underlying it. It provides some new targets. This transforming growth factor is a new target that we can begin to look at from a pharmacologic point of view to see where we can measure it. We could do receptors on that and then find some way to either amplify the reception or amplify the signal in some way to mitigate this. But that's 10 or 12 years down the line. But with 25% of the U.S. population over 40 having osteoarthritis, it is something that will capture the attention of big pharma, because that's right up there with obesity in terms of something that can make a big difference for a lot of people.
Final question as we wrap up then. Has this been an evolving understanding, no pun intended? Like, has this been looked into for a while now, or is this sort of a revelatory finding? And what I'm getting at is, has the field been effectively stuck in how it understands this condition? Or has there been an openness to new ideas? Because I know in some areas of medicine, that's the way we do it, and because that's the way we do it, that's the way we do it. Okay.
I'm going to go out on your really, really thin ice here. It was revelatory for me, but I am not an orthopedic surgeon. Okay, so that would be statement one. The second thing that I would say is that a lot of our medical training really revolves around the biochemistry of our physiology. All those various blood factors, hormones, cytokines, that whole world of biochemistry. But we are equally influenced by physics. And I think that physics has gotten short shrift over time. So, for instance, in vascular surgery, so that's actually something I know about, the size of the blood vessels is determined by physics. It's not a happenstance, the size that a vessel will be, because when the aorta splits into the two iliac arteries, you have to have the same amount of flow. So you would think, well, if the aorta is 1 centimeter, then 2 half-centimeter pipes will take care of it. But that's not what the physics says, because that's not the correct cross-sectional diameter. They actually have to be 5/8 each. And sure enough, when you look at the vessels, those are the proportions. So that physics plays a huge role. Physics plays a huge, huge role in embryology that we're just beginning to understand in terms of biochemical gradients that form and the electricity that's inherent in the organism as those biological gradients form. So I think that we're really behind in a lot of ways on that. And this is where I'll get myself in trouble, is when you talk about spine surgery. I think that my exposure to spine surgery is that it's been very mechanically based for a long time, and that's why we don't get as good a result as we might. There's an overhang that we can chip off, or one of them seems to be tilted, so we correct it. But the spine is a far more dynamic physical object than it appears to be. And I think that the sooner we begin to understand that, the better we'll be with some of these things, especially in the realm of musculoskeletal disease.
What's the old cliche that all science is just applied physics? I don't know who said that, or if it's just an old wives' tale that I've heard over the years, but it seems to be what you're saying here is
at its root, there's a great deal of physics underlying our physiology. So it's very oftentimes indirect, and it's understanding cytokines is much better way to deal with certain problems. But when we talk about the cytokines, then we're talking electrostatic interactions, and we're talking about various 3D conformations, all completely useless to the practicing physician, but all important so that you can develop the drugs and the other devices and techniques that we can use to help the body repair itself.
Very good. Well, once again, this article is called Osteoarthritis and Evolutionary Legacy. You can go to our website to read it, acsh.org. When you're there, go up to the subscribe tab, click on it, put in your email address. We'll send you the stories we write, and the ones that you read are the ones we usually talk about here. Be sure to check out all of our new and improved social media. We have a YouTube page called Matter of Facts, which is hosted by our colleague Anna Delaski. She's doing great 30-second, 1-minute videos explaining the content that we published and just interesting questions that people have that are being asked on Instagram and other social platforms. So go check that out. Really helpful stuff. And follow us on X. It's at ACSH.org, and I'm at CamJ English. We welcome your questions, your thoughts, your insults, everything. Really appreciate it. Reach out to the organization if you want to talk to Chuck. He loves getting unsolicited emails. He's told me that on multiple occasions.
No, I know. I'm just lonely sometimes.
There you go. If you want to warm the heart of a lonely old man, reach out to Chuck. And if you do, in all seriousness, have a science or medical question, he might take a swing at answering it if you're nice about it. So with that, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.